A federal high court in Abuja has restrained the Independent National Electoral Commission from deregistering 35 political parties in the country. Justice Anwuli Chikere gave the interlocutory order at the hearing of a suit by some of the parties recently deregistered by the electoral body. The judge says INEC failed to oppose the application by the applicant, whose right of association must be protected. Staying with the courts, the Supreme Court has fixed March 2nd to hear the application for review of the judgment of the court, which sacked Mr. Emeka Ihedioha as the governor of Imo State. On the same day, the court will also hear a similar application filed by the All Progressives Congress in ZAMFARA State, seeking a review of the judgment which gave victory to the People's Democratic Party. From interpretation of laws to the making of same, we move to the National Assembly, where the Senate held a public hearing on the Sexual Harassment Bill. Members of civil society organizations and pressure groups who were present at the meeting asked the Senate to expand the scope of the bill beyond tertiary institutions to include students in primary and secondary schools.
The last thing we really have asked the National Assembly to do is don't just pass the law. Find a way of monitoring and taking accountability for its implementation by the institutions of learning. To that end, we have recommended that they should ask for an annual report and an audit of sexual harassment incidences and responses that were done by the university.
Still at the National Assembly, Senate President Senator Ahmed Lawan is asking security officials to beef up security measures at the National Assembly to avert any threat. Speaking during a meeting with top security officials, Senator Lawan disclosed that he has received report of security threat to the National Assembly. In attendance at the meeting were the Director General of the Department of State Services and representatives of the Ministry of Defense, Police, Civil Service, Civil Defense, Fire Service and other security agencies.
The time has come for this National Assembly to be properly stewarded. Those who work here directly with us, the security agencies, know what we are talking about. From the get, people who shouldn't be here at all find themselves moving from one office to another looking for nothing. In fact, last week, there were so many newspaper reports, and I'm sure some of you would have read about that. Personally, from the DSS, I had a report that we had a security threat.
The federal government has been explaining why the service chiefs cannot be removed now. Speaking to journalists in Abuja, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Mr. Boss Mustafa, explains that Nigeria is in a difficult situation. Hence, synergy is needed within the intelligence community to address the insecurity.
It doesn't happen like that. We are in a very difficult time now. We need everybody to be on board. We need synergy within the intelligence community. We need synergy within the military formations so that we can fight this war. We are in a very difficult situation. And when we begin to create cracks and divisions, who will be the beneficiaries? The adversaries are the ones that will exploit those divisions and further the cost of destabilizing the nation. So I think at this moment, all we need is for everybody to be on the same page, to fight a defined battle of securing this nation, protecting lives and properties, and ensuring that every Nigerian has the opportunity to live a prosperous life.
Still on the security challenge facing the country, the Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Mohammed, is insisting that President Muhammad Buhari will not resign, despite calls for him to do so over the security situation in the country. While addressing a news conference, Alhaji Mohammed admitted that the nation is facing security challenges and that it would be addressed.
Yes, we have security challenges, but the good news is that we are tackling them head on. But the challenges of security are actually being aggravated by fake news and disinformation in particular. The kind of comments that have been attributed to some leaders recently, especially religious leaders, are incendiary and reckless. Leaders should be part of solutions to problems rather than aggravating situations. To those asking Mr. President to resign, I wish to say this very clearly. Mr. President will not resign. He has the overwhelming mandate of Nigerians to preside over the affairs of the country, the expiration of his tenure on 29th of May 2023.
President Muhammad Buhari says the family unit is essential for the attitudinal change necessary for national development. The president was speaking at the Joint National Conference on Repositioning the Muslim Family for National Development, organized by the Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs and the Future Assured Initiative.
Most of the challenges affecting the family fall within the mandates and jurisdictions of the state governments. In compliance with constitutional stipulations and provisions, we gave numerous support and bailouts to them to assist them in discharging these obligations and statutory mandates. It is our expectation that the state governments will rise up to these challenges and do their full parts in this social regeneration.
President Muhammadu Buhari met with some state governors over issues concerning roads in their states. A request for a refund for funds used to fix federal roads in Imo State, the transfer of the construction of some roads in Lagos and Ogun to the state government, and the dualization of some roads in Plateau State are just some of the requests made by the governors as they each took turns to have private meetings with President Muhammadu Buhari. The federal government is not leaving anything to chance in its efforts to prevent the entry of the coronavirus into the country as it steps up surveillance at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport. The team included the Ministers of Information and Culture, Humanitarian Affairs and that of Aviation, and also the Minister of State for Health were all at the airport.
Isolation centers. We have here in Abuja as well. And of course we have in Port Harcourt, we have in Kano.
And finally, this week's Federal Executive Council meeting focused on the poor state of electricity supply in the country. Addressing State House correspondents after the meeting, which was presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari, the Minister of Power, Mr. Saleh Maman, says the federal government may review the performance of electricity distribution companies in the country and take appropriate action to improve power distribution.